figure, they realized something was wrong. They immediately called 911.
They realized something is wrong. This man got his hand in his dick and he's being choked out and he's passed out. What do you mean something is wrong? This actually sounds insane. The worst gooner deaths ever. I didn't even know you could go out like that. I'm gonna be real. There is one guy that I heard about who died from gooning, right? Wasn't he the guy that busted like 40-something nuts in a row?
The asphyxiation gooning incident. On June 14th,
wait, they're probably gonna put the gooner side in here too.
1994, a 38-year-old man left his small home in Asheville, North.
Oh, no. Slow. 38 you too old to goon.
1994, a 38-year-old man left his small home in Asheville, North Carolina, telling his family he was going for an evening walk.
You left your family to go goon, and then you died.
Clear his mind. He often visited a wooded area behind a local park when he wanted privacy, and the route was familiar enough that no one thought much of it. Clad in casual outdoor clothing and carrying a small backpack, he walked into the tree line just before sunset, disappearing into the dense, quiet forest. As daylight faded, he ventured farther off the main path than usual, eventually stopping in a secluded clearing about 50 yards from the trail. He set down his backpack, removed several personal items, and began preparing an arrangement using a rope tied between two sturdy trees. The setup appeared practiced, done with deliberate care, suggesting this.
Don't tell me he's going to what is he going to tie that shit around his neck on some freak?
This was not the first time he had been in this spot or engaged in this ritual. As night deepened, the man engaged in a sequence that involved controlled pressure and.
That's that Diddy shit. I knew it. He was gonna get choked. I knew it, bro.
Suspended positioning. At some point during the process.
No, he's gonna tie it around his neck because he likes to be choked. Oh my God. And then he probably tightened that shit too tight. He couldn't get out of it and he died.
However, he shifted his weight incorrectly or misjudged the timing. The rope system, meant to allow controlled release, failed to do so once he lost consciousness. The moment he blacked out, his body became completely unsupported. Without the ability to adjust himself or break free, he remained suspended in a kneeling position, slumped forward and unable to breathe. Hours passed, and the forest remained quiet and undisturbed. The next afternoon, on June 15th, a group of hikers walked along the same trail, taking advantage of the warm weather. About half an hour into the hike, one of them noticed something odd. When they moved closer and saw the unmoving posture of the kneeling figure, they realized something was wrong. They immediately called 911.
They realized something is wrong. This man got his hand in his dick and he's being choked out and he's passed out. What do you mean something is wrong? Why would you do this? Like, why would you need to do all that?
When paramedics arrived, they confirmed he had been dead for many hours. Investigators recognized
his family's gonna learn about this.
Recognized the pattern as a classic case.
You're gonna be like, honey? No, not honey. They're gonna be like, ma'am, I'm sorry to break it to you. Your husband is pronounced dead. We're still recovering the details, but it seems as if he's been in a suspended position, gooning. He was using the device to engage his throat in certain ways. Man, his wife is gonna be like, I don't even know what she would think, bro.
Accidental death during a private high-risk solitary act of gooning. The Goonside incident on January 8th, 2025.
Hold on. Moment of silence, bro. Yeah, it's unfortunately it is that serious.
A 27-year-old man named Nautica Malone drove his sedan into the drive-through lane of Bikini Beans Coffee in Tempe, Arizona, just after 7 a.m. He had left home unusually early that morning, according to his family, saying he needed fresh air and a change of scenery. As he approached the service window, a barista preparing for the morning rush noticed him rolling forward at a slow, measured pace. When he reached the window, she greeted him, expecting a routine order. But within seconds, she realized Nautica had no pants on. She pulled out her phone and began recording the encounter, capturing the man's quiet, vacant expression as he sat behind the wheel. The video lasted only
I seen the video, but like all you see is like the top of his legs. Was his actually out, bro? What was he thinking? A drive-by goon is diabolical, bro. And he had a family.
Few seconds before the car eased forward and exited the lane. The clip was shared privately at first, circulating among coworkers, but by late afternoon it had been forwarded again and again until someone uploaded it to social media. Within hours, it was widely circulating across multiple platforms, gathering captions, jokes, and commentary. Over the next 2 days, Malone withdrew from friends and family. According to relatives, he stayed mostly in his room, leaving only briefly to pick up mail or get water. He ignored calls from coworkers, disabled several of his social media accounts, and stopped responding to messages. His brother later told reporters that the shame and public attention seemed to overwhelm him almost instantly. And on the morning of January 11th, Malone left home quietly. He drove west toward Goodyear, Arizona, taking a long, looping route along the highway, avoiding busier exits. At some point during the drive, he called his brother, but the call went unanswered. When the brother returned the call minutes later, it rang without response. Just after 3 p.m., a passerby walking through a quiet parking area near a small business park noticed a black sedan parked at an odd angle beneath a tree. The engine was off, and the driver inside appeared completely still. The passerby approached slowly and tapped on the window, but there was no movement. Alarmed, they dialed 911 and reported an unresponsive person in a vehicle. Police and paramedics arrived within minutes. After forcing the door open, responders determined Malone had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, with the estimated time of death several hours earlier. A firearm was recovered inside the vehicle. On his phone, officers found...
I can't even lie. Yo, if you did some bull like this, God forbid, would you end it all? I don't think I would end it all. I think I would just deal with it. He could have redeemed himself. Because think about like Dreamy Bull. Like, I mean, Dreamy Bull wasn't doing things in public. Like, obviously, you're driving through a drive-through and you're harassing the female workers. But I think he could have redeemed himself. I think he would have been a meme. Because, you know, in this generation, bro, people they don't give a fuck about anything, bro. Yeah, a year? Bro, 3 months went by, he would have been good. And then especially once the Epstein files and all the other shit hits, nobody's gonna care about this anymore, bro. It's kind of sad that he ended his life because he had a family. But at the same time, like, the reason why they clowned on him is because he did some dumb. Like, bro, you have a whole wife. Like, why don't you get some cheeks?
A short message addressed to his family, written earlier that morning, apologizing for the pain he felt he had caused them. The falling GOONER incident. On March 18th, 2011, a 32-year-old man returned to his small Milwaukee studio apartment after a long work shift. He dropped his keys on the counter, turned on his TV for background noise, and headed straight for the bathroom. A few minutes later, he decided he wanted to goon. He brought a small stool from the living room and placed it beside the bathtub. He propped his phone upright against a shampoo bottle, playing a video he wanted to goon to. Based on the coroner's office reconstruction, he climbed onto the small...
Yo, the coroner's office had to break this shit down.
Stool so he could goon in a certain position, but the stool wasn't stable on the slippery bathroom tiles. While he was in action, the stool suddenly slid out from under him. He lost his balance instantly. He fell backward, hitting his head hard on the edge of the bathtub, and was knocked unconscious immediately. With no one else in the apartment to help him, he stayed on the floor without ever waking up. When he didn't show up for work the next morning, his co-workers requested a welfare check. The landlord entered the apartment and found the scene unchanged. The phone still playing, the stool overturned, and the man
still playing the video after a whole day?
Lying on the bathroom floor where he had fallen. Paramedics were called to the scene and they confirmed he had died from a head injury caused by the fall. The latter incident. On June 11th, 2000.
I mean, I'm gonna be real, like him, come on, bro. Him beating his in the shower, that's really not that bad. I'm gonna be real, that's really normal. It's just the moment that you threw the stool, like, why are you putting a stool in the bathroom where there's water, tile on the ground? Like, that is what's like frying me. Like, you why didn't you just, you did that? And I never got on a stool and beat my shit. What are you talking about? But have you ever, like, but being in a shower, like, you go in the shower, you beat your shit, you go take a shower, you go about your day. That's regular shit. This is why I want to be with a man who's disciplined. Yeah, you don't want to see, this is like, it's tiers to this. That's like some low tier. I don't know, bro. I feel like if he just would have never got on a stool, he would have been good, bro. The shower, that's an efficient one.
2019, a 38-year-old man in rural Oregon carried an aluminum ladder behind his house and placed it against a tall pine tree at the edge of his property. He often climbed the tree to get cell reception.
No. He went, what? He was going to go to the top of the tree and, like, why we gotta change the formula, bro? Why we gotta find more advanced, like, what are you looking at the top of a tree that you need to, like, crank some shit out? What the hell?
First later reported that he had a habit of spending long periods alone outdoors. That afternoon, he set up the ladder in a secluded spot and climbed roughly 15 feet up, settling on a sturdy branch. He began engaging in gooning while
why are they all 30?
Seated on the branch, believing he was out of sight and in complete solitude. As the minutes passed, he shifted his weight repeatedly, bracing his foot against the tree trunk while using the other to maintain balance. The branch beneath him was stable, but the ladder he had climbed was not properly secured. At some point during his activity, his movement caused the ladder to tilt backward. Startled, he reached instinctively toward it, losing his balance on the branch in the process. Within seconds, he tumbled together with the ladder down the slope beneath the tree, striking the ground chest first. A hiker on a nearby trail heard the crash and discovered him unconscious beside the flattened...
Just dig out. Still hard. No, bruh. Hold on, let me move my cam. No, bruh. I feel bad. Why are you doing that dumb shit? Like, you guys are not taking necessary precautions,
ladder.
bro.
Emergency services...
That's how you know he was horny. He didn't even think to secure the ladder, bro. How do you feel? He's probably, that's what I'm saying. How you think of an idea like this?
Were called immediately, but despite resuscitation efforts, he was pronounced dead at the scene from blunt force trauma to the thorax, including multiple fractured ribs and cardiac injury. During the investigation, police found his phone, open browser tabs, and physical evidence confirming he had been engaging in solitary sexual activity moments before the fall. The D-Cut incident. On July 14, 2016, a 45-year-old man returned to his small apartment in Eastern Europe after a day of running errands. He set down his bags, turned on a small radio for background noise, and made his way to the bedroom. He retrieved a homemade metal device he had been experimenting with and brought it to the bed, arranging it carefully for use. Based on investigators' reconstruction, he attempted to use the device while sitting on the edge of the bed. The device was unstable and one of the metal parts suddenly snapped under pressure. The broken piece caused a deep cut to his groin. He tried to stop the bleeding, but the wound was severe and involved a major blood vessel. Alone in the apartment, he was unable to get help or call emergency services. Within minutes, he lost consciousness due to rapid blood loss. When he didn't respond to friends who visited later that evening, a welfare check was requested. Authorities entered the apartment and found the scene unchanged, the device broken, and the man lying unconscious on the bed where he had been attempting to use the device. Paramedics confirmed that he had died from hemorrhagic shock caused by the laceration. The obsessed Gooner incident.
I would not wish that on my worst enemy, bro. And then imagine like the shock that you go in when you just see blood just pouring out your Oh my God. But he didn't call 911? That's crazy.
On October 14th, 2020, a 33-year-old man woke up in his small apartment in the city. His nights had become sleepless, spent scrolling through videos and live streams of a single adult performer he believed was secretly communicating with him. To him, every post...
Here we go. Here we go with this weird Yo, Uma, thank you so much for coming through. Have a good rest of your night. I appreciate you for vibing. I hope you have a good one.
Every glance at the camera was a coded message meant only for him. Investigators later found that he had stopped going to work, cut of his friends and family, and had isolated himself almost entirely. Notes, screenshots, and printed messages littered his apartment, all meticulously annotated with interpretations of the performer's signals. Over time, his fixation had escalated. He convinced himself that he needed to meet her in person to prove his loyalty. That morning, he packed a backpack with essentials, including a handwritten letter and several printed screenshots, and left his apartment. He traveled by public transit.
What did you think? Yo, is this you? And then it's her spread eagle? And then what, you think you were going to be able to win her over? Are you crazy?
To the city where he believed she was filming, following directions pieced together from
I'm sorry, bro. See, in a moment like this, where you feel like you need to go and pull up on your favorite porn star, just goon, bro. I'm not going to lie. Just goon. Just goon. Bust that nut. Because by the time you bust a nut, you're going to get post-nut clarity, and then you're going to realize, okay, I was just on some horny shit. Like, what are you doing, bro? No, that's not how you're going to do me. I'm not going to lie.
Online posts. For hours, he wandered near the area, checking security cameras and rehearsing what he would say. He refused to contact anyone for help, believing that any interference would ruin everything. As evening approached, he attempted to climb a fire escape to get a closer look at the studio where he believed she was working. Surveillance footage later showed him pause midway, hesitate, then lose his footing. Emergency responders arrived too late.
He didn't even get there?
Footage later showed him pause midway, hesitate, then lose his footing. Emergency responders arrived too late. He was already dead. The medical examiner ruled the death an accidental fall, noting that exhaustion, sleep deprivation, and distraction from obsessive fixation had contributed to his fall. Law enforcement later confirmed that the adult performer had no knowledge of his existence.
What? And she just realized some random creep just died in front of her home? Yeah, just don't do it. Guys, don't goon.